We're going to do things a little differently today. Today's going to be kind of a rambling post-mortem lessons learned on my football game dev career. Take a little look at, I guess, the three main football projects I worked on. Desktop Dynasties, which was the first one. Head coach football, which was like a lot of projects in the middle. And then, of course, the last thing, which was the 3K football project, or the Madden Killer, as we called it. And I guess the point, I don't know what the point is. The point is just talk about the things I learned, the things I wish I would have done differently, and ultimately why I think I'm pretty much done making football games. So, anyway, with that, let's dive into Desktop Dynasties. So Desktop Dynasties was my first game. I released it, looks like, March 8, 2019, but it was actually on early access for quite a while before that. The intent of this game was, I wanted it to be, I'll just play the video while we're going. I wanted it to be an early access game where I could keep developing features, and there were a lot of really cool things that I wanted to do with this game. And it was different. It was intended to be more of, I guess, a game board style, strategy. Let me pause it right there. More of a strategy style football game. As you can tell, it's 8-on-8 football, which right out of the box is totally different. There's not a lot of 8-on-8 football games out there. I'll play again now that you can see there's 8. It was really heavy on players played both ways. That was something you probably can't pick up from the videos, but players played both ways. They played offense, defense, and special teams. Very heavy on ratings, very heavy on assembling your team. It was very GM focused, draft trades, all that good stuff. Your coaches had their own skills. Yeah, so if you think about all the games that I've made since then, and here's just a little picture of the roster. You can see a lot of numbers, right? It was very numbers heavy. But it was the beginning of something interesting that I was trying to make. So we'll flip through some of these screens. Yeah, there's a standing screen. That was pretty cool. Awards. It had college in it too. College at the time, at release, is an unplayable league. There's the draft preview. It just had a lot of really cool things in it. So the idea was I was going to make this 8-on-8 football game with all these, intensely focused on individual players and roster building. And then there were, it was going to be in a game board style because frankly, this was my first real commercial game, and I was terrible at animation at the time, to the point where I almost didn't even want to spend any time learning it. It was just something I was so bad at. So I thought the best way to get a game going and to develop it into the things that I wanted to make it into was to just put a game out there without animation and then just build on it as we went. And the dream I had was I was going to launch this game with no animation. They were just going to be game pieces, which is why when you look at these, they have these little platforms underneath them. The plan was they were just going to be like these little chess pieces that did all this stuff, and you were, the main part of the game, all of the management stuff was going to be built around that. And I had a lot of big plans for this game. There were a lot of things I was going to do. Even just in the time between early access and release, we updated the game engine 3 times, completely from scratch. So like the very first game engine wasn't good enough, so I wrote it again. And then that was closer, so then I wrote it again, and then it was the Iverson Engine. And it's like the evolution of this game was going really quick. Somewhere along the way, the feedback I was getting, and this is going to be a common theme you're going to hear me talk about a lot, is feedback. And I don't mean like internet feedback. Frankly, I don't pay attention to internet feedback, right? It's like Steam reviews. I haven't read a single Steam review for this game. when people review things on the internet. It's just way too easy for people to say something negative that they don't even mean or haven't even thought about. It's just too easy. It's too easy to rip a game without really putting any effort into it and fire it off onto the internet and just be like, oh, that game sucked, right? So I just don't care about those. What I do care about, though, are the interactions with people. So, like, Discord is a place that I spend a lot of time on, because if somebody comes on Discord and says that my game sucks, we can talk about it, and I can figure out exactly what it is. For desktop dynasties, I wasn't really huge into Discord at the time, so I was doing it face-to-face with people. I was traveling around going to Gamedev. So, like, I did a lot of IGDA stuff, showing it off to people, talking to them about what they thought. I traveled to a number of places to meet people who are interested in this game or interested in football games, and show them what I had and have them play it, and then talk about what they felt. And then just random people I know who love Madden. Show them what kind of explain what my dream is, what my vision is, and have them play the game and get feedback. So the feedback I got, I felt, is very valuable, because it was a conversation, usually face to face with somebody. They couldn't hide behind the internet. So I took that. I thought it was really meaningful. Now the downside of that is the feedback that I actually got. Even in the early version, the feedback was 8-on-8 football. That's dumb. I was like, well, wait a minute. Let me tell you what I'm trying to do. It's 8-on-8 because I want individual players to really matter. When you play Madden, like, who cares who your fifth offensive lineman is, right? Your fourth wide receiver, who cares? Let alone everybody in the back 50, the back 10 of your 53-man roster. You don't care about those guys. Right? If you only play 8 players and you only have a 20-man roster, every player really matters. And they're like, oh, no, I get that. That makes perfect sense. It's still dumb. It's like, okay, well, why is it dumb? Just explain to me why it's dumb. And the answer is always the same. Well, that's not how it is in real life. It's not real. It's like, oh, okay, I get that. So the 8-on-8 everybody thought was dumb. Just because it's not NFL, right? All right, fine, right? You've been rammed NFL football down your throat for 20, 30 years. I get it. Nobody's interested in trying something new. I get it. That's fine. But outside of it being dumb, what do you think of the game? What do you think we're doing here? And the second piece of feedback I got was, your animation sucks. And I was like, well, what do you mean? There is no animation in it. And they're like, yeah, it just sucks. It's not even close to as good as Madden. I was like, well, yeah, I know. It's not supposed to be Madden. Like, you see how they're little chess pieces? The intent is this is supposed to be a strategy game. This is supposed to be chess for football. Like, you see what I'm going for here, right? The chess pieces, because it's chess for football, right? Right? Huh? And they're like, no, I picked up on that too. But it's just not going to be as good as Madden. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's dumb because it's not Madden, and it's not going to be as good as Madden. All right. Well, what else you got, right? And the last major piece of feedback I got was, so it was the animation sucks. It's dumb because it's not 11-on-11. Oh yeah. Is it going to have real NFL teams and players? And I was like, well, that's an easy one. No, never. Because I'm never going to get the NFL license, because EA's got it locked up forever. And this was even before they renewed it for like another 5 years. I was just like, they're never going to give up that license, right? The NFL is never going to give up the billions of dollars from EA to take a chance on other, right? So they're never going to give up a sure $1 billion to take a chance on maybe getting a few $100 million someday. Like, that's just stupid business. They're never going to give the NFL license to anybody else. So my game is never going to have the NFL license. And by the way, no other game is ever going to have the NFL license. So, like, just stop thinking about that as we're thinking about this. Every game from now on that is going to have a pro football that's not Madden is not going to have the NFL license. So, like, stop thinking about that. Just think about what we're trying to make here. And they're like, yeah, I would never buy a football game that didn't have real players and real NFL teams. I was like, that sucks, but that's fair. Like, I get that, right? I like my real teams too. I can't fault anybody for that. The problem is, it's just like, then you're just basically saying there's only one game that's ever going to exist, and that's Madden, and that was kind of disheartening. But I thought, well, let's just add customization in, right? So in this game, I added. This is the beginning of the things that I added to this game to try to make the potential fans happy. And this was the beginning of the downfall of my entire football dev career. I started off this game with an idea and a vision of a game that eventually I was going to get to. And frankly, it would be awesome. Like, if anybody would give it a chance, they would love this game. And this would be the kind of game that I would play nonstop for years, right? I think it was going to be amazing. I learned along the way that it was me and like one other person that thought my vision was going to be awesome, because out of 100 people I talked to, that one person was super supportive, and like I have two fans of this game. One of them right away thought it was awesome and was all in. Another one played it for a little while, gave it a chance, and loved the game for what it was. The other, hundreds of people all hated everything about it because of those three things. It won't have real NFL players and teams. Animation is not as good as Madden. 8-on-8 football is dumb. Like, okay. So then I started let me try to change what my thought was to make the fans happy, right? I mean, after all, they're the people going to buy the game. I should listen to them eventually, right? That's what game devs always do, right? You listen to the people who are going to buy your game, because the people who are going to buy your game, they know, because they're the ones spending the money on your game. Right. Even though the game's not made yet, they know best. And that's what every game dev, as I was starting, every single game dev told me, listen to what the people want. All right, the people want Madden. Well, I can't make Madden, but what can I do to compensate for that? So step one was, well, I can't get the NFL license. Let's add customization, right? Let me allow you to change the teams. That way you can make them NFL teams if you want, right? That's cool. I can do that. That's not that hard. And if anybody was following my videos back then, you could see I actually started playing with I had real college teams in it at some point, just to test out customization. And it worked. It was pretty cool. It took a lot of development time away from some of the other things I wanted to do, but we could do it, and we did it. They're not perfect, but they work. Okay, cool. And you can edit the files, and you can make real NFL players. All right, that's cool. So I got customization in. Now, that didn't really hurt the vision at all. That's no big deal. Whatever. But it opened the door. So got customization in, and people were like, "Oh, that's cool." But it's still, your animation still sucks. Like, I don't like these chess pieces. You got to do animation. And I said, "Oh, all right, well," right. People were happy with customization. I think everybody who told me you gotta give everybody what they ask for, they were probably right. So I got to continue to do that. So the next one was animation. And as you're looking at the video here, you can see that my animation really kind of sucks, right? It's not good. Right? His little celebrations, the running, the blocking, it's all kind of cheesy. Well, that's because if you remember, these were supposed to just be chess pieces. They weren't supposed to have animation. So I was not an animator at the time. So I put animation in the best that I could. And it wasn't good, right? It was not very good. But I made that clear, and everybody said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I would never buy this." And that's always the stick everybody uses. I'll never buy this game unless you have animation. All right, well, I'll add animation, right? The animation's gonna suck, but I'll add it, right? I got to make the fans happy, so I add animation, and what you get is this really cheesy, crappy animation, and frankly, it's embarrassing. But what do, right? You have to have animation because the fans say they want animation, and you have to do what the fans say. So you add animation, and it's an embarrassment. And I frankly, this is one of my biggest lessons learned is I really wish it didn't add animation to this game. I really think this was a better game without animation. What I was doing is I was doing poses, right? And you'll see that come back in some of the head coach stuff if you were following my progress on games. Is I brought back chess pieces with no animation. And that's been a thing I've been going back and forth on because everybody says they want animation, and then I put the animation in, and the animation sucks because it's not as good as Madden. But now they're more angry that I have bad animation than they were when I didn't have animation at all. And it was just something I kept getting beat up over, and I beat myself up over. And frankly, lesson learned, I wish I would have stayed true to what I wanted in this game and not had animation in it. But anyway, so that was the second of the slippery slope things. And it kind of, at that point, I put animation in at the end, and the next thing was, you need gamepad control, right? This was a coach mode only game, right? The next request was, I want to be able to play on the field, and I was just like, but that's not what this game is. This game is not playing on the field. And everybody said, well, I won't buy it unless I can play on the field. I was like, all right, let me try that. So I started, excuse me, I started messing around with that, and I got it to work, but I was at the point where it was killing me. It was just it wasn't working right anymore. The ratings didn't really matter anymore. So I just finally got tired of it all and said, I'm done. Launch the game. And I launched it into early access. Excuse me. Actually, it was already in early access, and I just finally got to the point where it was like, you know what? I could add that in if people really like this game, and if they're really into it, I'll add it in. It works. My testing shows it works, but like we gotta go. So I got out of early access and I launched the game. And then I kind of started queuing up all the cool things I wanted to do. Now that I was kind of done with the community requests, I started getting back to, all right, let's talk about all the cool things. Like, and the cool things were I was getting ready to revamp the coaching system, right? The coaching system was kind of sucked. It wasn't fully thought out, but I was getting, like, the college league was implemented, and I was getting ready to revamp the coaching system. I was going to make college leagues playable, and those were the next few things. And then, try to figure out just some of these other little rough areas. Make free agency more interesting, right? I had all these really cool ideas we were going to do. And it launched, and like nobody bought the game, right? To be expected, right? I have no marketing arm of Golden Crest Games. Excuse me a second. So I'm not that surprised that nobody bought the game. I kind of expected that. And the plan was I was going to keep updating this game for years. So it didn't really matter that nobody bought the game. The thing that I wasn't expecting, and the thing that changed everything for me on desktop dynasties, was how much everybody hated the game. And frankly, that was hard for me to take. So I launched it, And I guess I probably should have stayed, thinking about it, I should have stayed in early access for much, much longer. But at the time, people were saying early access is a bad place for your game to evolve. People were telling me, other devs were telling me, you have to, nobody cares about early access games. Nobody's going to give you feedback. Just launch it and provide meaningful content updates after launch. That's the only time you're going to get anybody to actually pay attention. So I did, and frankly, it was a mistake. I should have stayed in early access much, much longer. Because when I launched, people that I knew that knew the game was coming out, people that I talked to after, people that I jumped on the Steam, that people that I talked to on other avenues, it universally hated the game. Like I said, I have 2 fans. Everybody else hated it, and they all hated it for the same 3 reasons, right? It's not NFL teams and players. Your animation sucks. It's not as good as Madden. And 8 on 8. I don't get it. That's dumb. So basically, the message I got out of Desktop Dynasties was there is no interest in creativity when it comes to football. We are not interested. We as a market are not interested in anything new. And if you try to do something new, it's dumb. So that was the lesson I got out of Desktop Dynasties. Right or wrong, right? That's what I was feeling at the time. So I basically quit Gamedev after the launch of Desktop Dynasties for probably like 2 years, 3 years, something like that. I was out. Like I had learned that this industry sucks, and game consumers are horrible, and everybody hates everything you do unless unless you're a solo developer and you make a game better than Madden on your first try, and oh, by the way, it has to be $5.99 or less. Everybody's going to hate you. That's what I was feeling at the time. Granted, I may have been a little dramatic at the time. I get that. That's fine. But that's what I was feeling. So I quit. So my experience on Desktop Dynasties made me quit game dev completely. For at least a couple of years. So what happens then? Well, like anything you're passionate about, right? You can't stay away forever. And I love football games. Frankly, like that's all it comes down to. I love football games. And just looking around, like, see people are getting up. So I came back and we started doing head coach. And what this was, it's here you can see it. So here's one of my videos of me play testing head coach. And Iowa State, Sandy, right? Real teams, right? Of course, you got to have real teams. 11 on 11, because you got to have 11 on 11 because anything different is dumb. But coach mode, and it's me talking through something. I don't know what I'm talking about there. Let's get to a play. There we go. So it's coach mode, but you'll also notice there's no animation, right? We're back to what my original thought was, is I wanted chess pieces because I wanted it to be a game, a strategy game for football. It's literally that's what I wanted, a football strategy game. I got to cover up other me. That's annoying. So I went back to it, right, for head coach. Head coach was something I was making for me. It was going to be just everything that I wanted Desktop Dynasties to be. But this is what I was telling myself, right? Everything I wanted Desktop Dynasties to be, but an 11 on 11 format with real teams. That customization so you could have real teams. So basically, I've already baked in all the things, right? All the things that people are hammering me on about Desktop Dynasties. I had already baked that into my vision, because I had learned that there's no room for deviating from what's already out there, which is sad. It's kind of sad now that I look back. But I gave it another try, and we were going with head coach for a while. So this was getting pretty far. You could play. This was focused more on the college league, and this was getting pretty far. And I was getting pretty excited about it. And I was learning my management AI was getting really good. I was learning a lot more about systems. I was just getting a little better at interface. You could see it's just a massive upgrade to desktop dynasties when it comes to things like interface. So let me zoom out here. Let me go to the end. This video, you can see some more of the actual, like, this is a schedule screen. You can see things are just getting better and more interesting to look at. Because I was getting excited about it again. And things were going in a direction that more people were being interested in, because it was, I was showing real college teams, and it was 11 on 11. And it was very, so like you had the play editor. Let me zoom back to the beginning. I had a really good play editor I was going to let people use. Really powerful play editor was going to be part of the game package. You were going to be able to hire coaches and coordinators, and you were going to have this whole career as a coach, and the game was going to be based around your career as a coach. Coaching carousels, right? Hiring, firing, all that good stuff. Pretty exciting. I even had this game was made with gamepad control as well. I wasn't highlighting it that much, but gamepad control was baked in. You could play on the field. I didn't really talk about it that much because I didn't want everyone to get really excited about that and say we're basically getting a new NCAA 14. But that was being baked in. So what happened? Well, this was going fine. We're bumping along. Let me turn off the sound there. You can see, this is coaching goals, right? We were bumping along. Things were going great. Let's see if we have any gameplay. The draft was looking really good. We don't have any gameplay in this video. What happened was, again, people started seeing it. I started showing it. I was doing a lot of YouTube videos, but eventually people started to catch on that I was making this game. And on Discord, we were talking about it a lot, and I was talking it to people, out in the real world, again, as I do. And the feedback I got was, your animation sucks. You picking up on a theme here? Your animation sucks. It's not as good as Madden. Okay, yeah, there's no animation in it. I get that. Well, it still sucks. I won't buy this unless it has an animation. Great. Gamepad control, that's cool, but I need to be able to do like moves and spins and things like that. All you can do is run. Like, I don't get it. What's the point? I was like, well, it's supposed to be a coach game, but now as I'm saying it out loud, it's supposed to be a coach game. I don't know why I'm letting you play on the field at all. I should take that out. Is this going to be online multiplayer? I was like, no, because I don't know how to do that. Well, that's dumb. Madden's online. You should make it online. So I started running into the same wall that I was running into with desktop dynasties. And but that was okay because I was prepared for it this time, right? I was a little frustrated, but what I learned was, all right, I want to be able to make games for a living. I gotta listen a little bit. I can't just do what I want to do, because I learned my lesson from desktop dynasties, right? If I do too much of what I want to do, nobody's going to play the game and everybody's going to hate it. And ultimately, I want to make a game people love. And I want people to love this game because it's going to be a fun game. So let's talk about animation. All right, everybody hates animation. Hates my animation. That's the first thing anybody says, is my animation sucks. I should get off my high horse and I should address animation, right? I mean, who am I to tell everybody they're wrong? If people like it, if people want animation, that's not rocket science. I can figure out how to do animation. Let's do animation, and then maybe if people can get into the animation and get over that hump, maybe they'll be open to some more creative decisions that I'm going to make, right? If animation's the roadblock, let's get them past that so that they can enjoy the cool things I want to do. That was my thought process. And that's where we ended up on the 3K project. So the 3K project, all along the way, I've been doing research on All Pro Football 2K, which I think is probably the best football game ever made. And I spent hours and hours deconstructing how they're doing the animation. And I think I had figured out how 2K did their football games. And it's not that complicated. It's like I call it, it's a beautiful magic trick. And I figured, hey, I think I can do that. So the 3K project was my attempt to start building a 2K-like football game based entirely around the animation system. That was the goal. Because if I could build a game around an animation system so that the people who play it aren't distracted by how bad the animation is, then they can appreciate the fun things about the game, right? The management part, which is the part I really love. So that's what the 3K football project is. And, if anybody's watched my Cover Up Madden series, it's basically me showing off the development of the animation engine. And frankly, it's pretty dang good. Not to toot my own horn too much, but look, are you guys going to run or what? Come on. Start running. Anyway, these guys are going to run. There they go. Like, these guys are actually running in a meaningful, like, they look very human-like when they're running. They change direction. There's a sense of weight. There's a sense of momentum. So this animation system is looking sweet. I invested in a motion capture system so I can capture my own animations and fill things in as I want, right? Like, I have the whole setup to build the entire 2K style engine. So, like, what's the problem, right? Well, here's the problem. And this has nothing to do with my fans or my game, right? I think this game is actually bumping along pretty well. Things are turning out well. It's taking longer than I had hoped, but it's going okay. The problem is this. Madden 21 is problem one. Madden 21 comes out while I'm thick in the development of this. And like, let's not let this be lost, right? Almost all of these players have real life jerseys from real life college and pro teams, right? I won't buy your game if it's not NFL customization. The real life animations, right? I won't buy your game if it's got crappy animations. 11 on 11 football, right? Remember when people said 8 on 8? That's dumb. I don't even get it. So basically, I have come full circle and I am doing exactly what everybody has been banging on me to do. And I am doing nothing of what I set out to originally do. Like, let's not lose that fact here. I have basically become ghetto Electronic Arts now, which is super depressing. But anyway, what does that mean? Why am I bringing that up? Because problem one, Madden 21. Madden 21 comes out and it's a complete dumpster fire, right? Universally people hate it. Lowest rated football game of all time, kind of thing, right? You look at every Twitter trending, everybody hates it. It's an enormous, it's so bad it's showing up on the news. Major media outlets are talking about how much everybody hates Madden 21. Madden 21 also quickly becomes the greatest selling football game of all time. What? Are you kidding me? So the worst major football game ever launched, also within a few months becomes the greatest selling football game of all time. Well, what does that tell you? I don't know what it tells you, but what it tells me is people don't care about anything other than buying Madden. So if you're an aspiring football game dev and you're looking at all the problems Madden has and you're reading all the tweets, it says every tweet that says I would buy a game that had a meaningful team building mode, right? I would buy a game if it had a coach mode. I would buy a game if it had a better franchise mode. Like, I'm sorry, but those games exist and none of you are buying them. You're all buying Madden. So that drove home the fact to me. Nobody cares about anything they say other than when people say, I want competition to Madden, all they're saying is, I want a better Madden. They don't care about the competition and they're not going to buy the competition. They just want Madden to be a little bit better so that they can find something else to complain about Madden and then buy Madden again, right? Like it pissed me off to no end that everybody is constantly complaining about Madden, but every year Madden is the greatest selling game of all time. Like, okay, fine, right? I give up that battle. You all love Madden, fine. I can still make cool games, and maybe a few of you will buy them. Like, who knows, right? So I keep bumping along, right? I was frustrated. I quit I put down my keyboard for like a month or so just to kind of cool down. But then it was like, whatever, it's Madden. Madden's gonna sell what Madden sells. I can't fight that, right? Stop getting upset about it. So I start bumping along again. And we're still making progress, and I'm still feeling pretty good about it. Doing these videos, right? Whatever this one is. This is the pass and the coverage video. We're still cruising along, making progress, having some fun. Then the news, EA does it to me again, right? Then the news that EA might be bringing back, well, first, the NFL makes a deal with 2K for something. We don't know what that is. That kind of shook me a little bit. But then the news comes that EA is thinking about bringing back NCAA football. And I was like, dude, college football was the only thing I had left. Right? If there's no way anybody's going to buy my game over Madden when it comes to pro football. But if I can make a compelling college football game, now there's a chance, right? If I like transfer portal, recruiting, right, the draft, like all those things, if I can do that well, I got a chance because nobody else is doing it. Well, if EA is doing it, I'm back in the same problem I was before, right? If anything I put out there, people are going to be like, why would I buy your game when I could just buy EA's college football? So that news came out. I was hoping it wasn't true. Last week it became true. EA's bringing back college football. So right? Follow the thread all the way through my football game dev career. We already know how this is going to end. I'm going to launch this game. People are going to say, why can't I use real NCAA teams? I can just buy EA Sports and get real teams. Your animation's not as good as EA Sports, right? It's like, I don't know. So I'm at the point now where I'm just like, okay, I could keep making this game just for me. But frankly, I lost so much money on desktop dynasties that I'm not super interested in going bankrupt again. So I think it's just we're kind of at the point where it just makes sense for me to spend my time making a different kind of game in a different kind of genre, right? Pick a genre where people are interested in things that are new, things that are different. People are interested in creativity, because frankly, that's one thing I've learned in the last 5 to, I don't know, when did I start working on this? 5, 6, 7 years in football game dev is if word of advice to an aspiring football game developer, there is no room in football games for creativity. You cannot do anything different than what's already been done. The second you do something different, you're going to get bombarded with, that's not sim. That's how they do it in real life. I will never buy your game unless it's exactly like Madden. that's the three pillars of making a football game right now. And I'm sorry, some people are going to be pissed off about that, but spend every day of your life for 3 years making a football game and getting feedback, and you'll come to the same conclusion I did. Like, I'm sorry, people are going to hate that, and they're going to be pissed, and they're going to yell at me. They're going to internet yell at me. I'm sorry, that's the lesson I learned in making football games. You know, if there's another lesson out there to be learned that somebody else did, I'm happy for them. That's what the market taught me. I started off making a game that was different than any other game out there. It had features that nobody's ever seen before. A combination of features that hasn't been done. It had a roadmap to create something truly unique. And from day one, the market and the fans and the consumers beat it into my head that that is unacceptable. And frankly, I wish this is the lesson. This is the huge lesson that I got out of this. I wish I would have stuck with what I wanted to do with desktop dynasties and not listen to the customers, not listen to the game devs, not listen to the market. I would, frankly, out of all the games that we just looked at, this was my best game. This first one was my best game, and everybody hated it, and it was raw. But by the time between then and now, the animation could have been like we could have gone back to if I would have stayed with the chess piece thing, it could have been exciting and interesting by now. The graphics would have been much better by now. The interface would have been much better by now. Like all the rough spots, I would have fixed by now. I mean, right, in 3 years, this thing could be so refined and so exciting from a coach mode perspective. There could have been so many cool things. We would have basically been at the end of the roadmap that I had planned for this game. And that's my one big regret, is that I listened to everybody and I tried to make everybody happy, because I still think this was the best game that I made right here. You know, and that's my big regret out of this, is I think I still would really be enjoying the process if I were still working on this game, because I mean, it had some great things that nobody's ever going to see, because the football game customers won't let you. It's too bad. But anyway, given all of that, you know, because of the way things turned out, and also because like I just said, I recognized how much I love the process when making this game. I've realized like I need to go to a genre that's not so committed to conformity. So I don't know. There it is. PostMortem on the game dev, on football game dev. I don't know where we're going next. Probably something somewhere in the, I don't know, somewhere in the sports or management type genre. I don't know where. It won't be football. It'll be something where there's room for creativity. But stay tuned if you stay interested. Appreciate it. See ya.